And welcome to another Round the Rotary with me, your host, JP Warren, and with us today we have Josh Hegg, Reservoir Engineer Manager, Permian Basin, Eagleford for Noble Energy. But before we begin, I do have to plug Capital Petroleum Consultants. Round the Rotary podcast is brought to you by Capital Petroleum Consultants. CPC specializes in project engineering and well site supervision in all disciplines of the oil and gas industry. Contact us through www.capitalpetroleumconsultants.com to see what CPC can do for you today. Right?
It was good. It was good. I liked it.
Yeah, so we were talking about having the EA Sports a voice for the podcast.
You got it figured out.
Well, you just got to dabble with it a little bit. I mean, I'm still kind of, again, I've done about, 33, 34 of these. I'm still kind of, every time I do it, I just feel like I'm just chatterbox.
I'm impressed with you can turn on the radio voice like that. That's good.
Just get close to the mic. Well, Josh, first off, thanks for coming in today, man. How you doing?
I appreciate you having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm happy to come down here and chat with you. I've heard great things about the show and excited to be here.
And so you live in the Woodlands?
I live in the Woodlands. Moved up there probably 4 or 5 years ago. I'm from Colorado originally, so I needed some trees in my life. So
Okay. Yeah.
had to get up there.
No, I feel you, man. I grew up in Connecticut and
Yeah.
stuff, this, concrete jungle we had down in Houston. So, let me just, all right. Actually, talking about Colorado, why don't you just kick it? I mean, we always do this. We always get a little background about people, kind of where they're from, how they got in the oil field. So I'll just start us off with that.
Yeah, I grew up in Colorado, and not any ties to the oil field at all. I grew up more in a military community on the south side of Colorado Springs. So, really, what got me there wasn't anything in particular that got me into oil and gas. I knew I wanted to be in engineering.
Why did you want to be an engineer?
Just the math and science background. That's kind of what made sense to me. That's what I was good at when I was young, and I had some mentors early on that were like, yeah, this might be a good fit for you. So I kind of went down that path. I went to New Mexico State University originally, and I started out as a chemical engineer. But really, I went there to play baseball, and I laughed because I found out pretty early on I wasn't going to make a career out of baseball, right?
Right.
Like I tell people the story. Like I went there my first year, and my roommate. We go out to our first practice, and my roommate's, I'm a pretty big guy, and he's a $160 soaking wet, and he's like throwing 95 miles an hour, and I'm like, yeah, man, I don't have a future here. These guys are way better than me. So, from there I went back to Colorado, went back to school of mines.
How long did you play baseball?
I played 2 years at school of mines, or 2 years at New Mexico State, and then moved back to school of mines.
Okay.
When I went back there, petroleum engineering was kind of the hot kind of major at the time, and it kind of fit what I wanted to do, and I thought the oil field would be around a long time, so I thought it would probably be a good path to go down. So that's kind of what
So
got
first
me there.
generation oil field.
First generation oil
You
field.
like the math and science behind it. You
Yeah.
choose petroleum engineer.
Yeah, well, and let's be honest, like it was chemical or petroleum, and when I looked down the list, petroleum got paid more, so I might as well just be honest and say how I got there.
So do you want to share the story with your first day in the oil and gas petroleum engineer course at Colorado School of Mines?
Oh well, yeah. So when I first got my course schedule, and not knowing anything about the oil field, I see that at some point, I think it's either in my freshman or sophomore year, I've got to take logging, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, why the hell do I have to know how to cut down trees and produce timber to be a petroleum engineer? And then I go Google it. I'm like, oh man, I'm way off. Like I'm not even close. So shows a little bit of how green I was going into the industry.
Well, that's the thing, man. I mean, the oil field has such unique terms and definitions for things. I remember I was working with a guy, and he was writing an HSE report. I guess we had an incident offshore when I was at Noble Drilling, actually, and he's like, kind of laughing. We're in the HSE department. What's going on over there? And he was grinning, and he's like, well, the operation they're performing was nippling up the POP. I can't write that. I'm like, yeah, you can, man. Like, that's what it's called. Like, so yeah, I can understand coming into the oil field, first generation, not knowing any terms or definitions. It does kind of bring you by surprise. So, continue. So you were at Colorado School of Mines, started petroleum engineers.
Yeah, so I enjoyed it. I kind of enjoyed my time at Colorado School of Mines, and from there I started my career at Apache.
Okay.
Apache Corporation. I was working in Tulsa. Like most companies, you kind of start out in a little bit of a rotation program, right? So I was bouncing around between, you know, engineering and reservoir engineering and drilling and production and completions. I spent a couple years in Tulsa, got transferred down to Houston, and I've been down here ever since. So.
Okay, so you obviously you wound up in reservoir. What attracted you from, you know, all those other different disciplines to reservoir side of things?
I kind of enjoyed the big picture decision making part of the business, like how to shape the strategy and how to shape the direction the organization
Right.
was going. And I felt like my skill set, my strengths really played well to that. So I tried to focus my career on going down paths that played to my strengths.
Okay, all right. So what? So obviously, you know, I kind of want to talk about what you've done personally in your career to kind of continue to, I guess, stay ahead of situations, to learn more about, I guess, the business environment, and the oil and gas. I guess, that's what reservoir. You're making the plans. You're deciding when to produce, when to drill, and all that. So, what tools have you used during your career that have helped you in your career development?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, you make me laugh because you make it sound like it's, you know, all these. I joke with people. I'm like, yeah, reservoir engineering. They're like, what do you do? I'm like, well, remember that time that in elementary school when they asked you how many jelly beans were in the jar? I'm like, yeah, that's what we do. We have to estimate how many jelly beans are in the jar, right? It's actually pretty simple. But I think for me, the things that have helped me grow in my career, first thing is mentorship, and second thing is finding those other opportunities to learn and kind of broaden my knowledge base so I can be more effective as a leader and just in my decision-making abilities and just more effective to a company in general.
So how important is, I kind of want to talk about this, because you and I discussed this before we started recording. I kind of wanted to go down the path right now with you about mentorship. So have you had several mentors in your past that have kind of helped you, I guess, propel you in your career, or that you kind of emulated or followed?
Yeah, I've had some really tremendous mentors over the years, and what's funny is a lot of them may not even know that they're mentors to
Right.
me. It's just people that, you know, you come across in your path that, you know, you're like, man, I really want to emulate that guy, and I really want to do what that guy does. And you know, I think early on in my career, it was really important to have some folks that, like I said, I'm green, right? Like, let's be honest, I'm not adding a whole heck of a lot of value to your organization when I'm first coming in, right? Like, I am just trying to figure things out.
Right.
And you know, there were some very good mentors who gave me projects to work on that were meaningful, right? Like it wasn't, you know, just go enter numbers in a spreadsheet. These were meaningful projects. We were making meaningful business decisions. And that really helped get me engaged, really helped me think about how to solve problems, really helped me think about how to communicate effectively, and I think that was a tremendous start to my career.
So actually, the process of actually putting you on stuff that's meaningful, empowering you to make decisions to fail, if you do fail, or to succeed.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, most folks aren't, you know, everybody's different, but when folks are challenged and they're in a position to add value, they're going to want to succeed and they're going to want to do well. So that's going to kind of put them in the right place to kind of march down the right path. So I think that's important.
So a lot of people, I mean, we've had a lot of people in different manager roles and positions here and all that stuff, but I kind of want to talk to you about how important your role is now and kind of how you've taken kind of a mentorship role towards other individuals in your company or even out.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think it's important for folks to kind of have kind of their key mission, that kind of key thing they want to do with their career. And for me, I want to add value to people. So when I think about my role as a manager or a mentor, that's what I want to do. I want to add value to people. I want them to look back on their career 10, 20, 30 years from now and say, hey man, look, you know, that time I spent working with Josh or for Josh, I learned these things, I worked on these projects, it really helped propel my career. It really helped propel me maybe personally or professionally, right? That's really what my goal is, and that's the impact that I want to have with folks.
So yeah, we were talking about before, everyone's got that teacher,
yeah,
that kind of pushed them, that kind of actually shaped their or changed their path or kind of helped them or propelled them. And so I kind of want to break. So you manage people, but also I want to talk about the mentorship side of things more. How are you actively, I guess, do you pride yourself in being a manager, or are you constantly trying to stress your skills as a mentor more? What's more important to you?
I don't think that's one thing you can separate. I think they go hand in hand. regardless of where you're at in an organization, mentorship is part of management, right?
But that being said, I mean, you can be a manager but not be a mentor. I mean, there's people out there that have managers that aren't pushing them to succeed, that aren't empowering, that aren't giving them projects to help strengthen them.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And for me, like, I can't separate it, right? Like,
Right.
Any role that I would be, any management role that I would ever be in, there would be that management or that mentorship piece to it. Because like I said, I want whoever's working for me, with me, I want to help propel those folks' career, and that's always going to be the way I think about it.
What would you? I mean, have you ever had a bad mentor?
You learn things from just about from everybody you encounter, right? Everybody you work with, right? Different mentors have had different strengths and weaknesses. And
Right.
I've always tried to focus on, picking up a few things from each person that's valuable to me, that will kind of help me, right? And that I can then, push on to other people or help.
Adapt it your own to kind of put your own flair on it
Exactly.
and move forward with that. So, how are you? I guess during these times right now, we're recording this right now, middle of September in 2020. I guess during these times right now, it was so much turmoil and reduced activity. I mean, people uncertain about everything. You have the news and social media, all that stuff getting out there right now. How are you communicating to your team, or what are you doing with your team right now? I guess to kind of keep everyone calm, keep everyone together and collected.
Yeah, that's a great question. These are these are interesting times, and it's different, right? But I think what we try to focus on is, I have a very strong team. They put together really incredible work products that drive really good business decisions and add value. And what I try to stress is just help showcase that work to people,
Right.
so that folks are seeing that, yeah, these guys are still adding value. And I just stress, hey, focus on what we can control, right? Keep delivering, keep producing those work products that are going to help add value to the organization, and the rest will take care of itself, right? I think as long as you keep engaged, a lot of that uncertainty, you're not kind of spinning on all that uncertainty that's
Right.
out there, right? And you can stay focused on what's important.
And that's kind of what makes people kind of get spiral out of that anxiety driven is not knowing. It's that uncertainty that just keeps on brewing. So if you have strong communications and strong leadership skills or mentorship skills, you can kind of keep everyone kind of at bay and kind of level. And okay, so tell me about that again. I want to hear about how you actually promote your team to your supervisors.
Yeah, I think that's important, right? Because at the end of the day, like, these guys are working extremely hard and they're doing tremendous work, and I want them to be able to have an impact on the organization, and I want their work to get showcased, right? So, a lot of times it's, hey, let's take this work product, let's package it up real nice, and let's present it upward in the organization so they can see the tremendous work the team's doing. I think it's important to, try to promote your team's kind of the efforts in their work products, so that folks can see, man, these guys are really adding value. It gets them exposure, right,
Yeah.
to some new people. It gets kind of them some notoriety for the things they're doing, and that's important, because these guys are working extremely hard and they're doing tremendous work, and they need to be recognized for that, and that's one way to do it.
Man, I think that's so impactful. I remember during my time when I was at Noble Drilling, I remember you either have good mentors, or I remember there was a couple people that their boss would take all the credit. They'd want the pat on the backs, they'd want that. I remember the mentor I had, Carrick Payton, he always wanted to showcase that his team was doing good work, his team was doing good work, and I think that's helped him.
Yeah, I think that's a tremendous approach. The successes are theirs, right? And it's my responsibility to take accountability when things don't go right.
Right.
It's my job to handle the burden of that, and it's all their work product that should be in the forefront of that's really driving the business, right? It's not me. I get them coffee and try to make sure that everything's going smoothly for them, right? They're doing all the work, right? I just try to not derail the ship, right?
Right.
So I really try to put a focus on what they're doing.
So right now, where do you are you excited or are you anxious about the future of the oil and gas industry right now?
I'm actually very excited about it. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of uncertainty right now,
Right.
but I think we're kind of at a bit of a turning point in the oil field. I think, we're not getting a lot of investment dollars right now in the oil field, but I think we're kind of at that point where we're starting to leverage data. We're starting to operate more efficiently. I think the way we need to be thinking about moving forward is not, you know, when's the next boom, but it's how do we operate and make money at $25, $30 oil, right? And I think if we leverage people, if we leverage technology, I think we can get there. So, and you're starting to see it, right? There's a lot of really cool stuff people are doing that's helping driving efficiencies and help driving business. And you know, I think for years,
you're also seeing a lot of, I'm sorry, I'm not interrupting, but you're also seeing a lot of this new cool technology coming out. You know, stuff that you haven't seen before. I mean, you can get, you know, go down inside, you know, the wellbore, find out where the schematic, find out where, you know, where the drill pipe is in real time. And I mean, it's pretty cool stuff that we're seeing these days.
yeah, I agree. You know, there's a handful of things out there that I've seen, and I haven't seen a lot. You know, I haven't seen everything, but
Right.
you know, it's really tremendous what folks can do with data. One thing I saw one software that kind of stuck out to me was Corva. It was a super cool tool that folks were using to kind of optimize their drilling and completions operations, and it's different. It's not anything and there's a lot of products like this, right? But there's nothing. It's not like the typical oil field type product that you've seen in the past, right? Like this is like Silicon Valley type stuff where it's really progressing forward how we do our business.
Yeah.
And those are the type of things that I think are going to drive the future. I don't know what it looks like. You know, I don't know what kind of the end picture for an oil company looks like, but I think as long as we keep pushing down that path, you know, we're not going to be talking about competing for capital against other oil companies. We're going to be competing for investment dollars. We're going to be talking about competing for investment dollars with Amazon and Tesla and all, you know, because that's who you're competing
Right.
against, right? If people can invest money in an organization, they're not just looking in the broad scope of everything they can invest in, and where should I put my money? And I think we're going to be competitive with every other industry across the board at some point in the very near future.
Okay. So you feel that it's not a question of, you know, reacting to the times. It's not a question of, you know, well, let's lay off people, reduce our G&A, and then once things get big, let's hire all these. So you're looking at it more of a broad sense of actually shifting the way we do business.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we can just keep contracting and you know, going back to the status quo. I think we should take this as an opportunity to change how we operate.
Do you think we're going to take this opportunity?
I think a lot of companies will, and I think the companies that do will thrive.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, you're definitely you're hearing different conversations in this downturn versus one in 20, what was it, 16, 17. Yeah, you're hearing a lot more different conversations that actually discuss technology, discuss data, making decisions off of data analytics and all that stuff. So you're not seeing more of the same conversations around the table that you've had through all the other, you know, busts that we've had in the oil field. So that's pretty. So you have an ability, I've noticed in the past couple of things you said, to have this big picture. You know, whether it's you know, choosing your career, whether it's, you know, what the oil field is going to do. I mean, do you view everything kind of with a 30,000-foot view? I mean,
I tend to be a bit of a simplifier, honestly. Maybe it's because I'm not smart enough to get too much into the details there, but I think it's important to kind of focus on how things impact the future and kind of focus on the positive things that are going to drive the future, and that's kind of where I try to kind of focus my mindset.
so you kind of separate the bullshit with actually what's going on, the real stuff that matters to you and your home, your family, and your work.
Absolutely, and I say that most of the time. My wife would tell you sometimes I'm a pain, but for sure, I think you've got to focus on the things you control, that you can control, and the things that are important to you. And I think it's a good way to go about, you know, to get through these uncertain times. I know, you know, these times give folks a lot of pause, but I think, you know, I always go back onto the fact that, you know, does this affect my livelihood, or does this affect my health? And it's like, no, those are the important things, right? So
yeah.
I think as long as you focus on what you can control, you know, these are times that everybody's going to get through and we'll be fine.
That's what you're finding, man. You're finding so many people just kind of start taking all these external events or external opinions or whatever that looks like, whether it's politics, whether it's, you know, whatever current events is going on right now, and that's affecting their mood, that's affecting their relationships, their friendships. You have people aren't talking anymore, and you got all these external noise, all this clutter, static, and that's kind of making people kind of a bad mental state, you know. So I think it's important to, just as you said, kind of get rid of all that fluff and just kind of focus on what matters. What matters.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's super important, and like I said, we'll come out of it, and like I think, particularly for oil and gas, we'll be stronger than we were before, and I think we've got really exciting times ahead of us. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's exciting to hear. I mean, you hear that through. Some people are saying, and I think the more people that are stick around, kind of a clear vision, and know how to actually navigate through these times. I think you're right. You're gonna thrive. You're gonna get through this, and it's gonna be a little bit better. So, what tools are you using right now to kind of, stay on top of your game about? We talked about this earlier about books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because, early in my career, I remember working with some folks and thinking, man, these people are really tremendous people, extremely intelligent people, extremely savvy business people. And I'm looking at myself and I'm like, man, I'm not that smart. So, like, how am I going to compete with people like this? And, truthfully, early on, I was probably a little bit complacent, right? And I wasn't really striving to learn new things and, try to build the range of things that I understand and build my business acumen and do all these different things. And I think it's important for everybody to find an outlet and figure out how to learn. And for me, it was books, right?
Okay.
So that over the last, 10, 12 years, it's been really important to me to kind of dive into different topics. And
is it topics that are related to your field, or is it topics that are kind of broader than that,
no,
different disciplines?
It's pretty broad, really, and honestly, I enjoy history books. I think you can learn a lot from leaders of our past, from situations in the past. I think it's business books. I really enjoy behavioral psychology, and it's kind of just whatever kind of interests me at the time, right? I've gone down different kicks, but you can learn so many things from so many different industries and so many different people that I think it's good to get a good broad range of have a good broad range of topics that you can learn from.
Right. So you're hearing a lot of people during these times, they're like, okay, well, now I'm going to start learning this. Now I'm going to start learning this, which they should.
They absolutely.
But this is something you've been doing your whole career.
Well, maybe not early on, but I think I had a few people challenge me early that got me going down the right path. So I'm very thankful to those people, and it's become kind of part of my routine now.
Okay.
So
and it's books on tape.
It's books on tape now. I got 2 little girls at home, and what used to be reading time before bed is now usually coloring or Barbies or building.
Well, it's still
Legos,
reading time, but it's peak
yeah,
dragging.
exactly.
Yeah.
So my drives to work, it's Amazon Audible the whole way. So
what would you tell yourself, 10 years ago that you wish you could tell, that you wish you as a mentor could have told little Josh?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one thing that's extremely important, somebody should have told me, hey, if you want to have a long and successful career, be a great teammate, learn how to be an incredible teammate, learn how to make everybody around you better, be helpful to folks in the organization, and you'll have a very successful and long career doing that, right? I think the team aspect is something that people needed to really stress.
But that's kind of, you grew up in a team aspect. You played baseball, and I guess you carried that onto your professional career.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so am I not asking something that I should be asking? Am I not discussing something that we talked about earlier that we want to kind of bring up?
I think we're hitting on most of it. I think, it's a great question when you ask about kind of the things that you wish mentors would, or maybe some advice that somebody would have given you,
right.
Or given me early in my career. When being a great teammate is one piece of it. I think obviously finding ways to learn new things, that's super important. For me, one of the things that was kind of helped me go down the right path was really, they have the saying, know thyself, right? Like really knowing my strengths and weaknesses and putting myself in a position to kind of capitalize on my strengths, right? And then, the way I look at it, kind of the weaknesses take care of themselves, right?
Yeah, you just have good people around you
Yeah,
to take
exactly.
care of weaknesses. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, it was the 80-20, something something like that. So, what was your baseball walkout song? The reason why I'm asking this, we had a dinner last night and we were talking about baseball walkout songs. I know mine's In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins, probably around like what, minute 3 minutes 30 seconds before the.
Oh, I think everybody has to listen to that song before like a football game or a baseball game. Everybody should listen to that Phil Collins song. You'll probably laugh, but mine was Still Ballin' by Tupac.
Which is Thug Life Volume 1, which is interesting because I just put that back on. I put that back in the Spotify mix.
I didn't get to hear it often because they don't let you walk out too many times after you walk a bunch of batters in a row. Right? They usually walk you back to the bench after that. So, didn't get to hear it all the time.
Well, so it was Straight Ballin'?
It was Straight Ballin' by Tupac.
It's a great song. It's a great song. Well, you have anything out there for people right now that may be in a tough situation, that may find themselves at a crossroads, professionally and personally? I think you have a great perception. I love how you shut the noise off. You shut off the clutter, and you just kind of focus on what's important. So, do you have anything that you could say to people out there that may be faced with some sort of difficult time, or may be anxious in their career, or nervous to see where their career may go?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, like I said, you focus on the things you can control. I think during uncertain times, it's easy to sit there and dwell on all the things that could go wrong. So, what I like to do is just try to stay active doing something, right? Like, let's say if I was without work right now, I think the things that I would do is I'd probably schedule time. Hey, you know what? I'm going to meet 2 new people a week. I'm going to go schedule a lunch with 2 new people, learn about them, talk about them, and maybe do that every week. I'm going to send a couple notes to people and just try to broaden my network base. You just never know where opportunities might pop up. So I think it's important to kind of stay active and stay proactive with what you're doing, and that goes for anything, right? Like don't just be stagnant. Keep trying to do something to push yourself forward, whether it's small, large. Schedule it. Find those things that are going to help. Schedule that time and execute on it, right? Just keep moving forward, right? Even if it's
uncomfortable. I mean, you talked about setting lunch stuff and getting around people. I mean, for people that haven't, or like, oh well, this person they can't help me out right now, or this person can't help me out. But it's one of those things. It's get out of your comfort zone and just do it. Even if you have nothing. Like, I don't know anything about Reservoir Engineer. I don't know what you do besides count jelly. But at the same time, it's talk to people, learn about them.
Yeah, I think it's important, and look, like I laugh because for me, I've gone through it right before, and there's things that make you uncomfortable. I'm not a guy who I'm not the most outgoing person all the time, right? So some of those things would even be a struggle for me. But I think you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and there's a lot of positives that come from that, and I think. The more you can put yourself in those situations, the more you'll learn about yourself, and the more you'll find a lot of positive things that come from it.
Right. I think that's kind of it. What Netflix or what series got you through quarantine? Stands out the most?
Oh, Narcos.
Wait, have you seen all of them?
I went through all of them, and what's funny is then I got on a kick of like, I went through all the like narco books I could find. I'm like,
have you watched the last Narco on Amazon Prime?
Which one? The last
yeah,
I did. I just watched that one.
Good.
That was pretty incredible. That was
intense, dude.
That was a totally different perspective on that than
because you're watching Narcos Mexico, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, they did this stuff. But then the last Narcos is actually interviewing everyone that was involved in that.
It's not just in the movies. It's
real, crazy,
dude.
It's crazy. Anyway, yeah, Narcos is pretty legit.
Yeah.
Pretty legit.
At the beginning of quarantine, it was Ozark. It was Ozark, I think. But that.
We just finished all the seasons. Yeah. That got pretty dark.
It did.
I like that though.
It did.
Speaking of dark, Dark is another good one.
I haven't seen that.
I think you'd like Dark.
Would I?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you
I'll
would.
have to check it out.
So you got to watch it with the German audio and English subtitles though. It's just a great show. It's just it's a mind bend. It's great. So. Anyway, Josh, thanks for coming in today, man. I appreciate it. I think you have a lot of good points. I think I really enjoy kind of listening to hear you talk about kind of how you kind of put everything in perspective and how to move forward and how to kind of better yourself day by day and just kind of be a good teammate and put yourself out there. And not only that, promote those around you. He's always below you. So, man, I appreciate it. I wish you the best, and that's it. And if anyone has any questions for Josh or myself, you can reach us at roundtherotary@cap-petra.com. Again, that's roundtherotary@cap-petra.com. Appreciate it, Josh.
Yeah, JP, thanks for having me.
All
This
right,
was a
buddy.
great time.
I hope so.